And hey, good to see you again. Yeah, how are you? I had a blast this last weekend being up at Red Lake, and that went really well. Um, so lots of traveling around, and but we're here to finish some talk about narcissism. I don't want to be narcissistic about it, but we have to we have to finish it, right? We started last week talking about that. I brought what my kids used to call a hula hoop because they couldn't say hula hoop when they were little. I know hula hoop, they'd say. But I brought a hula hoop just to illustrate some things. And then we'll open up, once I'm done teaching, we'll open up for questions and answers. So last week we went through characteristics of narcissism. Top characteristic is superiority thinking. That means it's about me, it's for me. It's all about me, and somehow I'm superior to you, and you're here to serve me. Now, people don't come out and say that unless they're an extreme narcissist, but it's a sensation, it's a feeling that they have that causes us to be more a little self-centered, selfish. And like I always say, it smells, and then you start to smell like you're selling fish because there's a putrid kind of thing that comes off you when you're narcissistic. And most people try to ward off, or we try to deflect or come away from a situation, be able to put that label on someone else. Well, they didn't listen to me, so they're narcissistic. Or they wanted their own way because they're narcissistic. But sometimes we have narcissism on our side, and that's why we're not able to receive what's going on with that other person. The best formula, right, is for everybody to love and care about each other. And part of love is preferring the other first. That's one of the meanings to the word love, where I prefer you. If I say I love you, that means I prefer you. And I'll prefer you to a point where, I'll step out of the way and let you go first. Or I prefer you to the point that, I'll take care of and make sure that you are safe. And if you're doing that for me and I'm doing that for you, we're well taken care of. Right? But all you have to do to offset that is have narcissism, where it's like, I'm here to protect myself. I'm the one who needs to be the center. And a lot of times it's because of the insecurities, to the level of our insecurity, or to the level of our feeling of lack is the level that we feel like we need to step up and take control. And that's where superiority comes from. I need to be in control. Now, here's what someone asked me. So if there's narcissism, that means this behavior is happening all the time consistently. Not necessarily. I can be just walking in love, and all of a sudden, something in my life hits a button where I feel like I got to protect myself, and I can go, narcissist. I can be selfish in a moment. You can be self-centered in a moment. And it's like you can be easily offended. Therefore, I need to protect myself. So wherever we've been hurt, we have the sensation that I need to protect myself. And so in order to do that, part of that is me pendulum swinging over and becoming superiority thinking within myself. So that's what we went over last week. We also went over out of superiority comes the word entitlement. Because I'm superior, because in order to protect myself in this moment, even if it's not across the board, it's in this moment, I am entitled to an answer. I am entitled for you to take care of this situation. You owe me. You need to listen to me. You need to whatever it is. And the feeling is it has to happen because I'm entitled, because there's a part of me that you don't think I'm superior, but by golly, I'm going to show you I'm superior. And that comes out of hurt. That comes out of pain. That comes out of a way of not wanting to relive a trauma. Superiority also, and entitlement, when they go together, gives the message that you're not leaving me. Right? You ain't going anywhere. I am not being rejected again. So even though the person they come across like they're really powerful, they can be condescending, they can be loud, they can be manipulative, all those different things. It's to secure the fact that they're not going to be the one rejected. Anyone's getting rejected here, it ain't me. And so a correction, a feeling of here's some structure, or here's the way we do things, or here's how the authority works, that doesn't jive well with people who are trying to protect themselves from rejection, because it's like, now I'm coming under something that, no, I have to be in control. I have to be in charge. I can't just let this thing like just happen and I follow your rules, your way, or whatever. So I'm going to make my own thing. I live by myself. I'm a survivor, right? A lot of times we'll put our giftings, if we're in a superiority thinking, it's like, I'm scared of getting hurt and that people won't like me, so I'm going to take the best of my gifting and put it out front like a shield. See what I can do? See? This is what I can do, and y'all need to notice it. If you don't notice, you're rejecting me. So I have to, if you don't compliment me, I'm going to talk myself up into some type of superiority. I'm going to announce to you how good I really am. I've always taken care of you. I have always been there for you. Really, the word always, never, every single time can't really be used in any situation because they're inaccurate. The sensation the person's feeling, though, is I have to secure the spot by me announcing always or never or every single time kind of comments. Then you have to comply, because I don't need you rejecting me anymore. I'm going to say this in a way that you have to comply, or you're less than. And you should feel guilted that you're not taking care of my entitlement. Look at you. You don't even know how to love. Look at you. You don't, whatever. That's the sensation, or the conversation will lead to the superiority, and the entitlement is really saying it's only right. Right? Because you guys are the ones who leave people. I'm not. I'm always here. I'm always strong. I'm that person. And so, I have to announce that. So everyone needs to follow me, which really we're saying I need to always be in control because I don't do abandonment. Shoot, we've all been narcissistic in that way at one time in our life. I don't care if it was grade school or whatever. Kids have a little shorter memory in grade school, though. I remember the neighbor boy would be like, tell my oldest son, you got to go home. You are not my friend anymore. You get out and blah, blah, blah. We're not playing video games anymore. Because he'd get mad about the game or something. And then it'd be about an hour. You could almost put the timer on. Eric would get something to eat or whatever, and all of a sudden the phone would ring. Sure enough, neighbor boy, you want to come back over and play? I thought, weren't we doing the thing where you hate me and this whole thing, big announcements? A lot of times narcissism has that immaturity. That's exactly what it'll do. It'll make big announcements. And we are so done. And I'm going to take control back, and this is how it's going to be. And then we make big announcements. And then an hour later, you're like, I love you so much. And people are like, I can't translate that. That's like double messaging, right? Sometimes our body language doesn't line up with what we're saying. It can be like, Bonnie, I just think you're really pretty. Well, my body language is not lining up with what I'm saying. And it does in the brain, it like jacks over the brain. The brain's like, I can't read that. And sometimes in narcissistic settings, people will purposely double message you because it keeps you on your toes, where you begin to be like, I can't figure out how to feel about this. Good, that's the way I like it. I'll tell you how to feel about it. I'll confuse you, and then I'll tell you how to feel about it. Right? So they like the double messaging. They like that type of thing. So need for attention was number 3. I was just talking with an individual about liking to be up front. You can like to be in a spot where, I would love it if I had the opportunity to preach to 1 million people. Because out of those 1 million people, there's got to be somebody who's unsaved. And I'm racing the reaper here. Like, let's get it. I would rather be in 1 million people than have 5, even though the 5 count. The cause and effect is greater in the 1 million people. Right? That doesn't mean I'm seeking attention. It's my perspective of the crowd. But now if I have to be out front and I have to be the best, the most, getting the one that I need the atta girls, you need the atta boys all the time or whatever, those things are to prop us up so that we know we're superior and we're entitled to some things. So I have to feed that monster. And if that monster is dwelling in my brain and my heart, then I need you to help feed that. And so I'll always be begging for a compliment. Now, I never liked it when I was growing up where you had the chicks that were like, I'm so fat. And then they say that and they know they're not, but they want the compliment. So, right? So you say it and you're like, I just don't know if these jeans are even working for me. I mean, what do you think? And then you're supposed to go, oh no, you're just awesome. You're really big, right? So they bait you for that. I need to be the center of attention. I need to be the best. I need to hear from you that I'm the best. Amen? So it's not a true affirmation. It's a compliment, and it's a manipulative way of getting it. A lot of us have done that at one time or another, whether chick or guy, but it is that thing where you bait the people out. So I'll set that out there and see if you catch it. But then I expect a return on what I put out there. I really need you to tell me how awesome I am. Because I need you to reaffirm that I'm superior and I'm entitled. And this need for attention here that I'm going to get secures, I won't be rejected. I just need to know that I'm the top chick. And sometimes beauty or being handsome is such a blessing. A lot of times it can act like a curse. Because when we're little, if we get that, and you're so cute, you're so pretty, you're so whatever, and as we get older, we start to find out people favor that, right? And you can get things just by being cute. It can build a narcissistic side to you, right? And you can get that reaction somehow. Let's say you graduate high school, and all of a sudden it cuts off. It isn't that you look different. You're still really pretty, or you're still really handsome. But people are like, I don't want to feed that to you anymore. And you go into this depression and you can't figure out how to navigate things because you literally feel like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how do I be? I don't know how to get that center of attention kind of feeling that I need to have because I got to feed this monster that's been here. And it's pretty big. So, and then the other one that we talked about was need for control. And I'm just going out over this to catch everybody up. And then we'll talk about our circle of safety and then baiting out is what I will call it. The need for control, number one, we talked about if I really have to get control, I'll gaslight you, which means I'm saying something that will put you in question. And usually it's an X-Acto knife statement. There's no variance where we use the term always, never, every single time. Well, you're always like that. Well, it's an automatic for the brain to deal with the word always by conflict. It'll be like, I don't always do that. Am I not right? The first thing you're going to argue about is the word always. It doesn't really matter what you've been accused of. It's just that you said never and always and every single time. Every single time I turn around, you're always... right? And so that's a gaslighting statement because it's an X-Acto knife kind of thing that cuts, it's cookie cutter, cuts it out, and you have no way out of that. So your brain goes into defense mode, and it's like, you ain't doing this to me. I got to figure out how to defend myself. And so that's part of baiting you out, getting your whole system riled up, and you will debate and argue the situation. Do you ever win with a narcissist? No, you don't win. That's not going to happen. And so what it does, though, is it makes you lay in bed at night and like, I can't believe they said that. Next time if they say that, this is what I'm going to say. You ever do this scenario thing? You get all ready for that one phrase, but they never say that phrase again. They tell you something else. And you're like, I thought that through for hours till 3 o'clock in the morning. And they just won't do it. I want them to do it because I already have something I'm going to say. But even if you have that genius thing to say, it's crazy how a true narcissistic behavior will just walk right around that. And you're like, how? It doesn't make any sense, but it's very crafty. And we know who the father of lies is. And wherever there's a trauma, there's a lie built around it. And if you feed that monster, you lie to yourself because someone else lied to you. And that starts to build. And when it does, the gaslighting is that it's almost like that dragon part of the person who just goes, makes a comment. And it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be pushy. It can just be under the breath even, right? Well, that's what you always say. What did you say? I'm just saying. Just, it's how you are. Right? Well, how am I? You know how you are. See, now you have the confusion mixed with it. Well, you're not really telling me how I am, but you put me in question. I'm already ready to defend myself, but I don't know what I'm defending myself for. See how the conversation's going downhill? But, I tell you, but, look how you're acting right now. See, then turn it on. I mean, I would, because I can't try, because you're always going, always. Like every single time you just go off on me. I'm the one here trying to keep this thing steady. Excuse me? See, those are all deflective, gaslighting statements where it causes the other person to have to protect themselves. It's an automatic in the brain that you pull the sword out and you're like, what'd you say? And you get that crazy look. It's like, you did not just say that to me. But whoosh, it comes out. And so you can refrain and try to do something different. But usually, even if you control yourself and you say, no, I don't always do that. I don't know where you're getting that from or whatever. Why would you say that? Even if you're talking like that, they will find different statements to make that will still come at you to attack you and put you in question. So that way, and they're being very kind. They're not yelling. You can't even say, see, they're abusing me right now. That's the mind game. And you're starting to escalate, and they go, see, that's why I can't talk to you. That's how you get. You get like this. I mean, I think you probably should go get some counseling. What? And it ends up going like that. And we can gaslight each other wherever we're wounded and wherever we have the pain. And all of us don't want to be rejected at any point. So if we're protecting any area of a trauma and we're protecting any area of pain, we can be that person. And you get two people doing that. I gaslight you, you do it back to me. Then I'm back at you again. It's just like escalating. We're climbing up that mountain, right? And you only go so far till you faceplant. You fall off that thing. So here we are in that gaslighting. Then what was the second one? Do you remember? I can gaslight you till you're just shaking. And you're in question and you're crying and it's like, I'll get you help. We'll get you into some kind of counseling. They've turned it on you enough. You're like, maybe I'm crazy. Then that's when we come alongside, if narcissism is there, is let me help you. I'm going to love bomb you. See, so put you in question and then answer that question by love bomb. Baby, I always have loved you. I would never want to hurt you. After they just do that to your brain, right, with all the questionings and the statements. I'd never want to hurt you. So love bomb. And if the love bombing doesn't get things under control, then you just love bomb enough till the person's crying, you hold them, whatever it is, or if it's your friend, it's kind of like, okay, all right, we'll go fishing this weekend. And it just feels like, yeah, we're really close. We were able to have that conversation. And then they come back and gaslight you again. Because part of taking control in selfishness or strife, where there is strife, there dwelleth every evil and wicked thing, the Bible says, is the mind game. It's the mind game of I have to mess with you, take something away from you, and then right when you feel empty, I'll give you something back. A little something for you. And then you're like, okay, so it probably was me. I probably just was upset, or it probably was me because I was whatever. And but then in the end, that love bombing goes back to the gaslighting. And it'll keep escalating till you're just like shaking inside. And what they have proven over the last 10 years is they've studied trauma bond. And trauma bonding we've talked about here. When you're bonded to somebody who's psychologically abusing you. But you can't walk away because you don't know how to live without that gaslighting and the love bombing. Because see, if I get hurt, it's okay because there's a reward. A lot of times people will have sex as the reward. Like, we're to the point we're almost killing each other, but we'll change the subject by having sex. See, we're still in love. Did you change any of your behaviors? No, because we're in love. Right? And so we'll use that, and then we're bonded to whatever the situation is, and there's a lot of high emotion and passion and all of that, and dopamine's going off like cray-cray in the brain. But then the next time that you are being attacked or put in question, you can't have much of a lower feeling of depression and adrenaline and those types of things that are actually a negative on the body. So another comparison is when people do meth and then drink alcohol thinking it's going to help them. Like, I am so high, I'm way too high, I don't know, I could have a heart attack. Well, have some booze. All right, okay, thanks for the downer. And then we think we're with the program enough to even self-regulate that. Like we're aware enough of exactly how much it's going to take. Well, it never stays the same, and it never really works. But what you're doing to the brain and to the chemicals in your body is you're giving an upper and then you're giving a downer. And you're giving an upper, and sometimes people do it at the same time. Your brain's going, I can't translate that. That's like telling somebody, go, stay. You're going to get punished if you go. Okay, I'll stay. Get out of here. It freaks out the brain. And that's what happens with this type of thing of gaslighting, then love bombing, gaslighting, then love bombing. And when I really need something from you, we talked about what some psychiatrists are calling flying monkeys or wild monkeys. That's when, like, okay, I really want this person. I want full control of this situation, and I need backup. So I'm either going to put something on Facebook, Instagram, or something where I'll make some statement that's really a gaslighting statement, and then I'll sit back and watch the wild monkeys come forward and be like, those are my people, my supporters. There they are. Okay, so now I can talk to my supporters, and they so understand me. And I love bomb the supporters and just let them know what good friends they really are, even if they just saw the phrase and don't even really know you, because that's how Facebook works, But that you got a like off of it. You got a like. So you know who your wild monkeys are. And then what that does is it props up the support for the insecure person who is acting narcissistically towards somebody else. It props up your support to say, I have a whole team of people that support me. Then you get into an argument with that same person that you gaslit and now you love bomb and now you're back to gaslighting. You can throw that out and be like, even Jerry said. Are you kidding me? There's like 15 people who know you're crazy. Right? What are you talking about? And then they get online and they're like taking their phone and all panicking because they've already been ripped to shreds and put back together, ripped to shreds, and they're all of a sudden, oh, Sarah's on there and she betrayed me. I am not crazy. Well, here's the thing that they've proven. It doesn't matter how many times you say you're not crazy, the thing you fear will come upon you. So it'll be like, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. And the next thing you know, you feel crazy. Because you're not really speaking a truth that you believe to your brain. There's nothing to ground it. There's nothing to settle it. It's a fear. You're on the run within your own self. I'm not crazy. I'm not. But then you'll think of the times that you really lost your stuff when somebody gaslit you and you lost it. How many of you have really lost it when somebody's done that? Puts you in question and you're like just shaking. And even the small voice inside of you is like, I must be losing I'm going crazy. Right? Because you can feel your body's reaction. It's different than your thought pattern. You're like, I'm losing it. I'm not safe to myself or others. Maybe I do need help. Maybe it is all me. And to secure it, what they will do then, if they see that the wild monkeys helped, right? Got that support system. You are now surrounded. I'm going to change and secure you as I'm the superior. See, I got the wild monkeys. You don't got no wild monkeys. I got them, right? And I put you in question. And then wait when you're at the breaking point where you're like, I just need to be on some kind of med or something because I'm always losing, right? That's when that person goes, I get you, baby. And they bring out the love bomb. And it's so real. And everything has changed for like 2 weeks. Everything. We're so in love right now. It's exhausting, isn't it? Some of you know what I'm talking about. So that's that need for control. Whatever I have to do to get control. Now, I don't think most narcissists, there are some who do this, will sit down in the morning and be like, and this is how I'm going to take control today. I'm going to write down my list of control tactics, and this is around what time I'm going to love bomb this person or whatever. Because they just don't do it. It just comes natural because they've learned to be the superior. And they feel entitled, and they need control, and they're just used to communicating in a way where we're gaslighting. Now, here's the thing. If I point out to a person in counseling, that's gaslighting. And they go, well, I don't know what gaslighting is. And we just write down all the different things. Here's another one. This is one you said. This is one. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's like sawing your leg off because they don't actually have another way of communicating. The more extreme narcissism, the lack of words they have to say to resolve something without taking the superior road. It's just so hard because they're trained in it. We can be trained in it where it's like, we'll start out talking almost digital. Well, I really want to solve this with you, Jake. That's what I want to do. So can we just talk about it? Because they're trying to control, when they practice this, not taking the superior thing. So then Jake shares his feelings. Well, when you said that to me, that really hurt my feelings. Ooh, superior comes up, right? And starts to hover. And it's like, what do you mean I hurt your feelings? Because I wouldn't want to hurt you, you know? And all the communication that they have is, I'm about to gaslight you, and then I'm going to love bomb you, and get some wild monkeys up in here. And that's how it's going to go. And there's no, like literally, it does not come to their mind. Here's some functional options. They didn't get that memo. This has been a practice art of communication. I've been in situations where literally, it was a couple years ago, we had somebody in the neighborhood, as I'll just say it like that, just losing their stuff. Because one of you people parked in front of their house. Right? They can get all offended, and you can get sucked into it, and they're trying to find the wild monkeys right out of the gate. They're going to gaslight you and do all this kind of stuff. And people are like, what are you going to do, Pastor Mary? What are you going to do? I'm going to wait till they de-escalate. Because I try not to just respond to a gaslit statement. See, you try to gaslight me, I will give you nothing. That's my goal. Now, I'm not perfect at it, but boy, do I work on that. Kind of like, I might give you a smile and be like, oh, that's how you feel. But I'm not giving you nothing. Because I know that's a bait. So that's that, hey, we're fishing today. I need to know that I'm still superior and I'm in control. Right? Well, what they put on as bait has to do with the fish they're after. Right? You fish bass with a certain thing, right? Trout. Especially if they're mountain trout, you do something different, there's some of that. Sometimes you got to have a net as backup because they're a little wild and all that. But what you do is you if you need to be superior, you're always reading the crowd. Like, who is the weak here? Who could I really easily be superior to, and I don't even have to work on it because they're easily intimidated, right? And if I want to slowly, if I was here to take over this place, and I was in the class, and I really wanted to be like, I don't like the feeling here, and I want to make sure that I'm the special one because I have that need for attention. And when I get that attention, it tells me that I am superior and I'm entitled, and I just don't like the feeling of being equal in this room. It makes me very nervous. And I don't want to be the weak one where you gaslight me and take that spot away. So I'm just not going to do it. So what happens is they'll start to find the quiet one, the one who cries easily, the one who's like, yeah, I could end up taking over that zone. Let me just throw some bait out there. I know they like to bite at this time of day. And how you do that with a really insecure person is you love the crud out of them. But it's not a true love. It's a very syrupy kind of love. I'm just really impressed with your knowledge in these different things. And here's this quiet person like, wow, nobody ever notices me. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you. And they go home feeling like, that person's my friend. right? So that's another thing. When people overly compliment me, I just go, oh, thanks. Sometimes I say nothing at all. Because you can feel they're testing the waters. They're like, what is she going to bite onto? I can't seem to get at her thing here. Right? And I'm like, I actually don't need your compliments. You're looking for my needy area, and you're going over the top to try to find that. Right? And all I have to do is, oh my goodness. They just gave me some kind of praise. Right? And so then I bite that. And then it's a reeling in. It's a pull back. Right? Is that the first thing you do? Set the hook. Oh. All of a sudden they're like, whoa, what's happening? And then there's the fight. And as you're reeling in, there's other times you pull back. That's almost like love bombing, gaslighting, love bombing, gaslighting, till you wear the fish out and you got it. And you got it in your net. And you just keep going from one person to the next. That's also how what the Bible describes like a wolf in sheep's clothing. You come in and you fit in, but the need to have to be the star and be in control, you can't just sit there. Like, I got to dominate somebody up in this house. Who you got in here? Who can I fish? Right? And some people have that side that is a little bit more vindictive. They want to look for the powerful person, get alongside of them, the person who has confidence, the person who seems to already be up front. And they just kind of wiggle their way toward that because they're trying to get in a good fishing zone and they're looking for a weakness. They're not looking for friendship, they're looking for a weakness. Has anybody ever had that happen to you? So you know what I'm talking about. And if you buy into it, hook, line, and sinker, it's the thing of like, oh my gosh, they're my friend. So it's very difficult in this time, in this age where selfishness is rampant, to just relax and make friends. Isn't it? Because somebody can be baiting you to dominate you, baiting you to ride your cross. Like, I really like what you're doing. You're up there doing something in Red Lake, or you met with somebody or whatever. I'm going to ride that person's cross. And it's going to look like I did something, and I didn't really participate. So I'm going to use them so I can get more attention. I'm not there to serve. I'm there for attention. So it makes you say, well, let's just not make friends. It can make you say that, right? But the thing is, I can actually be a friend with somebody who I presently know they're trying to use me. I can befriend them. I can sit there the whole time and like, yeah, you are smoozing the crud out of me right now. The word schmooze means stupid talk. Yeah. I've had people come up and just out of the gates, first time they met me, I just love this ministry. I just feel so much. I think I'm going to give it like $3,000. And they'll name a price on something. And I'm like, I didn't ask you for that. And if God told you to do that, you don't need to tell me. What do I need to know that for? That's a bait. Where I'm just like, well, now you just became one of my favorite amongst the people. Right? And if I don't give the right response back, which I tend not to, I tend not to just be like, thank you so much for that $3,000. You know, it's weird. If you check the offering, it ain't in there, and it never comes. Because the people who are looking, there's like a Leviathan the Bible talks about, the different demonic spirits. It'll sit in the water. It's a water dragon. And the water represents the anointing. It'll sit right next to the anointing and hide. And the picture of it is like an alligator or a crocodile. It'll sit in the water and just the eyes are sticking out watching the anointing. I'm right up close in the anointing. Right? You think if it's there to kill you, it would be hiding. No, it's got to be right up close to the anointing. And when it does that, it's looking for something to grab. Aha! Pastor Mary didn't have her wedding ring on today. Got it. Gonna pull her down, twist, because I've had this happen. I brought this up before 2 or 3 times. I've had people who are like, they must be having marriage problems. She doesn't have a wedding ring on. No, I might have been laying flooring that day, right? Or ate something salty and now my finger's too fat. Or forgot to put it on because my husband and I are not that insecure. That I'm like, I left the house without my ring. I'm not that insecure, and neither is he. right? So something will get started, but the look for that, I found it. I knew there was going to be a flaw. And then they come up out of the water, grab you, and on their way down, they twist. That's what an alligator or a crocodile does. How does it kill its prey? It twists everything and takes you under the water and drowns you. That's a spirit. Just saying. And so selfishness and strife, there dwelleth every evil and wicked thing. We have to be aware that people are worthy of love. Behaviors are a different cat. We did years of high therapeutic foster care and used to teach classes to other people who were getting into foster care. And a lot of people came in with this idea like, I'm here to save, right? And then it realized some of these kids will eat your lunch. They will backstab, do whatever, because they're in survival mode, right? And they get narcissistic. One day they're like, you're my mom, after 2 days of living with you. And the next day they're at the school saying, they're so mean, they never give us food. That's just how it works. And so there were so many people that would come in with these grandiose ideas, and then they just quit doing foster care. I'm never doing this again. Well, you came in with the wrong expectation. People are worthy of love. Behaviors sometimes can stink. The child is not their behavior. You are not your behavior. My worst behavior is not me. It's a thing I do. I'm trying to get the thing I do to change because I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of acceptance. I have a destiny. This thing I do, though, is ridiculoso. In the words of Dora the Explorer. So there's something to that need for control. So think about it. Wherever you've been wounded, you have a need for some form of control. We don't like to be under authority because if I'm under authority, I can't control that. If I go work for Walmart and the manager lays out the rules or whatever, I can't go, yeah, well, I'm not doing that. I'm taking control now. You know, I don't always listen to people or whatever. They're like, well, you can waltz your little self right out that door. Because they have the authorization, they have the control. They're about to give you some authorization for your zone. You don't get to have the authorization for the whole store and the whole industry, but the zone you're working in, there's your authorization. And they want to watch to see that you will operate in that and respect that. Then you actually might get more authorization, more authority, right? So there's something about that, but if you have a narcissistic bone in you at all, there's that thing of like, I'm doing authority. Don't tell me what to do. Right? So it can come across like this. Let's say you're working at a job and nobody would label you narcissistic because you're over the top complimentary and everything's so wonderful here and I just love my boss. And what you're doing is you're moving into the waters of that authority and you're looking for the loophole. Just swimming there in the water, little eyes like the alligator just sticking out, watching like, aha, they said that was the rule. So-and-so is not doing that. That person's the favorite. This is what's happening. I'm not doing it either. Instead of like, here's what they laid out. No one's doing that, but I'm going to do what's right. Right? I'm going to follow the authorization that they laid out. Well, that's just how it is. So authority in a home, the more woundedness that's going on, think about our society right now. The role model of a father or a mother, if the woman is narcissistic, there is no respect for the man. If the man is narcissistic, for sure the woman's getting run over. Then the kids see this, and they go, what? I can't trust this. This feels like a love-bombing, gaslighting, flying monkey situation. And they grow up and they're like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to take control. The change that happened in the early 90s was crazy because women felt taken control. of, and taken advantage of. And guys are like racking up numbers of people they could sleep with. And so in the early 90s, remember, maybe you're not old enough to remember, but I've been here for a while. But, then it was, who's the Mac Daddy, right? Which really meant how many people you slept with, right? How many numbers you can rack up. Then that flipped in the later 90s. The women said, I will hurt you before you hurt me. Now, every time you think you're bonded to me, I will leave you and just go to another person. See how that starts? And then it just kept going. And now, relationally, people don't even know if they want to be married, have kids, anything. They're all just like scared. That's that Leviathan. That's that way of thinking that I have to protect myself. And then we learn to survive that by baiting people out, by trying to see in any dynamics like this. If you're whole inside, you will just sit here and know that people in this room could have poor behaviors, good behaviors, whatever, but you're okay because you feel good about yourself. You're secure. You all of a sudden start flipping out. I'm okay. Right? Somebody starts crying. I'm okay. Somebody starts acting narcissistic, I'm still okay. Because I don't have to feed into that. I don't have to take the bait. I don't care what wild monkeys they have. I don't really care. I'm secure in who I am, right? That's the goal to get to, so you can navigate the waters without the water dragon taking you down. If you attend a church, you'll notice it even in a smaller church, probably more, and there's narcissistic behaviors going on, you will see that certain people will navigate themselves by the water to get as close to the attention as they can. They have to have that, here's the structure that you got to fall onto to count. If you're going to count here, you need to be with these people. There's all these different structures that will happen, and it comes out of the past pains and people having adjusted themselves to make it, I'm superior, I'm entitled, I have the need for attention, you're not going to hurt me or leave me or reject me. In fact, if someone's getting hurt here, it ain't going to be me. I will posture myself, it will be you first. And you'll see that I'm superior. I'll tell you a thing or two, I'll embarrass you, I'll do whatever. That's abuse. It's abuse. So then that's the next one we talked about, is a complete lack of boundaries. Complete lack of boundaries. So let's say that this is your bubble. I don't have much of a bubble. Mine isn't very thick. I'm in your face, like you can hug me, let's get this far away, kind of person. I'm that person. Now, I know that everybody else might not be in that, so I try to respect that they might have a bubble that's farther out or up close, right? You got to be a reader of people to be able to meet those needs. You can't treat everybody the same and be up in one person's grill and they're like, and the next person is like, why didn't you shake my hand? I was trying to whisper something to you. And, you got to be able to read that. But if I'm in my space and you have a space, and suddenly the narcissistic thing says, I'm getting in your space. I don't have any boundaries. I'm just going to get in there, and you're not going to be able to control that. Well, whenever you have even one person who has that, let's say we had a person here tonight that's how they roll, it would make this feel like an unsafe place. Sometimes people from the front, when I'm doing illustrations, think I'm that person. And if I take something out, they're like, she's going to ask me to do something. I know she's going to ask me. It's going to be on camera. You start, because people have run over your boundaries and got in your circle. The way God created us is we all have this circle. This is our anointed area. This is our sphere of influence, right? I operate out of this sphere of influence. But narcissism says, I don't know how to operate here, but I'm going to get in your circle and start navigating you. Huh? I have no boundaries at all. Whatever I have to do, I'm going to get in that circle. I just abandon my circle and crawl into yours. And you'll be like, you are smothering me. I can't, just get out. No. Right? But that person will navigate it in a way that says, I'll gaslight you if you try to kick me out of your circle. I'll hold on to you and I'm going to suffocate you with love bombing and my neediness if you try to kick me out of this circle. Well, if this is my circle, where can I go? Can I leave my circle? This is my sphere of influence. This is my gifting. This is my destiny. I can't leave my destiny, can I? Sometimes people do. They set themselves aside and they're like, well, he just took over my circle. I guess I don't have a destiny. I guess I'm just a loser. And then we just start to destroy ourselves. Somebody started the destruction when they were in our circle, and we go, I guess my job is to finish it. And it's a lie from the pit of hell. And having boundaries takes your circle back. This is where I operate, right? Even in a marriage, the two shall become as one, but it doesn't mean my husband is in my space. Our circles might, if I had another one here, might cross over some, right? I'm doing my life with him. But he's doing his destiny, I'm doing mine, and we support each other. There's some religious teaching that just says women don't have a circle. Once you're married, you get in your husband's circle and do whatever he wants. We can make it hot in here tonight. People will be like, well, you know what? Just make a couple gas lighting statements and see where you go. But that's an underlying. Now they don't say it as much anymore, but you don't have to announce it. It's just known. Just known. I've been at places where I've ministered. Oh my gosh, the men didn't know what to do with me, and the women were just like, "Can you do that? Is that like allowed?" She left her circle. She's supposed to be in her husband's circle, and she's here. And I'll be like, my husband is fully supportive of what I'm doing. Amen? Amen. Fully supportive. At the same time, God created me as an individual. I am not my husband. My name's Mary Peltz. I wear his last name. So that's where our circles cross over. And we're in each other's space enough to become one. And when the Bible talks about, like a divorce or someone dies or whatever, there's a literal tearing of those two spirits apart because someone has left. It's hard. Torn asunder is how it talks about it. It's like, it's puke-worthy. It's gut-wrenching. So at the same time, if there's a complete lack of boundaries, you will know it. Just if I'm that person, I can sit next to you and you can feel like she's in my circle right now. Her whole conversation is like, get up out of my space. You can feel that, right? You almost feel like, I'm going to move down a notch. And if that person comes in bigger than life, really what they're after is, I don't pay attention to my circle. I want yours. I was dealing with a lady one time that was dealing with one of my family members. And when I called them on their behavior, this is what they said to one of my family members. I want your life. I want your life. I want to be you, is what they were saying. And they literally came out and said, I want your circle. See, because my family members are attached to people who are up front. We're not up front so we can get attention. We're up front doing a job. You're out there doing a job. I'm up here doing a job. We're just working, right? But the view of somebody who has to have control is like, if I could have their life, I would be a part of that. Then I would be in the circle. Right? Instead of you do your circle. And bring that to the table. And we'll honor that. No, I don't do me. People don't like me or whatever. And I want to be superior, so I'm going to climb that ladder by getting in other people's circle and sucking the life out of them. And if they don't honor me and follow me and worship me, I will kick them out of their own circle and take over. It's very demonic and it's witchcraft. Yeah, it's happened several times over the years where people have made that announcement and you're like, it's kind of a psychotic thing to say. I like how I said kind of. It's kind of, sort of, a little psychotic. No, it is psychotic. You have to be at a level of mental illness to just feel such great need to want to take somebody's circle and own it for yourself, right? So, so then there's a complete lack of boundaries. We talked about never taking responsibility. I cannot take responsibility for this circle, this dwelling. I can't look at it. It's so painful, so I'm going to put it to the back. I need to get in your circle, and I'm going to find out all your weaknesses in your circle. And I'm going to stay in that kind of in a smothering, kind of a leech type of way. And I'm going to suck the life out of you while I'm praising you and love bombing you and being your best friend. And so I can come into that, and but then if you say, hey, you're in my circle, I do not take responsibility for that. I'm only here because you're messed up. And sometimes Christians will use, the Lord told me. Yeah, well, he didn't say nothing to me. Get out my circle, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, they're looking for a need. God told me, and I had a dream, and you need to let me in your circle. I'm the answer for you. I'm the one. Some adulterous situations start like that in the Christian church. It's like, I got in your circle enough, and I saw you were really needy. And I listened well. And then I started giving answers, and I started putting my circle away and getting in yours. Now I'm going to get in your entire family, and I'm going to work this thing. And when you try to kick me out, I'll already have won everyone over. And you won't even see I took your circle. What? It's like some of those creepy shows, those cop shows that are on TV, and you're like, oh, that's happening, and nobody can see it. Happens in a small town. Well, it happens in relationships, right? But the people, when you go to, they set it up in such a way that you can't call them on behaviors because they won't take responsibility. And their conversation is constantly putting on you that it's your fault, you're the deal, you're the problem, that after a while, you're not sure if they're telling the truth or not. They're so influential, especially if they have a lot of flying monkeys. So influential in public. They're such servants sometimes. People will be like, oh, yes, they're just wonderful. They could be axe murderers, but we don't know that. And we can't see that they're literally driving someone out of their destiny. Right? And they won't take responsibility. I've literally had to tell somebody to get out of the circle of a situation that I had in a study. And I was like, till you repent, you don't come back here. That is so mean. Christians should not do that. We're always supposed to walk in love. Love has boundaries. And there are other people there trying to protect their own circles and didn't know how. So somebody got to step up. Somebody got to be that person that says, I think you need to leave now. Your intention is wrong. You go before God and get your intention right, you come back. We'll talk about it. But we're not doing this here, right? So so never take responsibility. And when you're not able to take responsibility because there's another characteristic, total lack of empathy. I don't care if you cry when I take your circle. I don't care if I'm in there rooting around and I run you over and there's nothing left of you. You can cry all you want. I feel nothing. That's a total lack of empathy. If I have empathy, though, I'll be like, oh, no, I hurt you. I am so sorry. I would take responsibility. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. But wherever we're narcissistic, we won't take responsibility because we don't have any empathy. Empathy is actually taught before the age of 7. The majority of your empathy comes before the age of 7. So if you got away with laughing at your little sister when she fell off her bike, and your parents didn't be like, no, you go back over there and help her. You would have nothing to train you to be like, hey, that's a person who needs help. Hey, that's a person I should look out for. Hey, I'm actually responsible for something here. And responsibility means you're going to respond with your ability. Empathy will make you respond with your ability, and you'll be like, let me help you out. Let's get your circle set back right. Are you okay? I can reach over my circle and help them. I don't have to get in and control them. find where they're needy, and now I'm their savior. This is why you'll hear me often, especially in prayer lines, I'll say, I ain't nobody's savior. I'm not a superhero, right? Will you come up here to the front for an altar call or something like that? You're up here to meet with your God. I might be the one praying, I might not, but I'm not your savior. I will show you where he is, though. See, so sometimes, and there's been a lot of that's happened in church hurts and stuff, is where leadership will posture themselves. Like, yes, I've taken classes, and I'm ordained with the blah, 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 blah. And, and you're all like, I know, I'm a peon, and I'm here for your help. You don't let somebody posture you like that. You might not know everything, but guess what? Neither do they. I'm not going to stand up here and pretend I know everything. That'd be cray-cray, and that would be narcissistic. Right? So, no empathy. And lack of empathy, can't take responsibility, and there's no boundaries. So that means if I have no boundaries, I can hurt you, not have to respond to it, and not even feel bad about it. That's a true narcissist. I don't even feel bad. And that's something that will cause people to just feel like they're going out of their mind. Because they're like, how can you say that to me? How could you get in my circle, smother me, rob from me, take from me, and you don't feel bad? It makes you feel like you're crazy. Because you can't figure out why they don't have empathy. And then here's what the mistake is. Why am I not lovable enough for them to care? So who gets beat up then in the end? First, you'll ask it about them, but in the end, it's still your fault. And they'll make it feel like it's your fault because they can't seem to love you with some empathy. Sympathy is where like, oh, I feel bad for them. Empathy means I feel what you feel. If that had been me, oh my goodness. Like we just lost another warrior. You know how I always say we're racing the reaper? She was 6 months sober, lived in Mora, and she was in our mission home, and she was sober. She moved out on her own, and then she started to feel like, I don't know, I feel funny. I feel like I'm losing control of different things, and can I come back and stay with you? But I kept calling her, and she didn't answer me. Calling her, and she didn't answer me. And she had went to the hospital because she wasn't feeling well, and she found out she was full of cancer. 2 days later, gone. 2 days later, gone. Now, do I feel so much empathy that I can't go to work and it's gonna paralyze me? No, but healthy is like, I feel for the family. She was way too young. She was rocking this thing, just getting going. And I'm glad she found Jesus. So there's some positive things in it, but there's also that side that just goes, oh. Now, some people can hear that same story and just be like, yeah, I know people die. Anyways, well, wait a second. I didn't ask you to cry for hours, but there should be, if you're healthy, there should be some like, wait a minute. This is why we're seeing some of the laws change on some of the crazy stuff that allows murder, right? In some states, it allows murder 2 months after the baby's born. You can decide, yeah, it still didn't work out, so go ahead. Those laws have been passed. Some of them have. The 2 months after, I don't know if that one has gone through, but I mean, that's crazy. Okay, what's causing that? We have wounds that passed on to the next generation with wounds. And the demonic realm is like saying, you don't need to have empathy. You don't even have to own anything of responsibility and have no boundaries for yourself or others. Just do what you want. Do the freedom thing. Do all of that, right? And yet I have the need to be in control, by golly. Don't tell me what to do with my body. That's narcissism, right? I am entitled. I'm the superior person here. So we don't look out for the people who can't help themselves. when it comes to dealing with people who maybe are confined to a wheelchair and stuff, our society does not know what to do at all. Somebody can come down the street in a wheelchair and people will be like, I'm going to the other side because I don't want to, what if they say hi to me? I mean, I don't even know how to, right? Because we didn't grow up, a lot of us didn't grow up with knowing how to have empathy and just talk to them because they're humans. That's narcissism. So, lack of empathy. And here's the number one thing where psychiatrists are saying, when you're an extreme narcissist, it would be really difficult for that brain to change. Because what it does is it goes through taking other people's circles and getting in and doing things like, I don't want you to have family. I want you to quit your career because it's about me. And I'm in your circle. You want me to leave this circle? I'll leave you. And they guilt you and they do those different things until they have control of what's going on. And then in the end, it causes the person who lost their circle to split out in their personality. But the person who's extremely narcissistic, because they've taken other people's circles and they've messed with this and there's no empathy or whatever, has developed personalities to walk through that. So I try to figure out, what does Jake need? All right, Jake likes that. I'm going to give him what he needs. I'm going to act a certain way. Let's say he likes people that joke a lot. I'm going to do that all the time when I'm with Jake because I read that about him. And I want control here. That's what happens. And they'll literally split out into different personalities. It's a low-grade form of schizophrenia, and it is called fragmented personality. They're non-consistent. You're like, You know, so somebody could be somebody could be a Playboy model and be a praise leader and be a CEO of a company. All the same person. Something's not matching about that. Right? And you're like, then people go, they're so gifted. It's like, this is not sequential. This is not together. And that comes from the trauma that they went through and learning how to not have empathy and be the center, control, whatever. Because if I really need to be superior, I got to figure out what you people want and give you that. And then, right when I got you feeding out of my hand, I'll just take something away. And you'll so miss what I gave you. For some people are like, here, let me give you my beauty. And everyone goes, that's so odd. Do you know that person? Here's their singing. Oh, they're amazing. There's, it's all of that. But then the fear of them taking any of that away, when you actually found joy in it, when you found something as they fed you and love bombed you, it's like, well, don't go. That will actually compromise our standards to keep that person. And the person who's brave enough to stand up and say, excuse me, that's dysfunctional. You're a hater. You're so mean, right? So I've gotten the privilege of being mean and labeled as different things many times because I'm not always perfect, but man, there's some situations I can smell it a mile away. It's like, no, you're not going to do that thing. Love you as a person, but your behavior, you put that away. And you don't just get to walk into my circle, right? My influence, the thing that God gifted me with, and we're all working together. I want to know, what's your circle like? I want to know you, but I don't want to take your personality. I don't want to wreck who you are. I don't want to dominate that. I don't need to be superior over that. I'm just going to emanate from my circle what God has shown me. And if that's an influence on your circle, that's because you were willing to say, I believe that. And by choice, I'm going to take that in. Nobody forces it on you. Right? It's not a control, like you're going to learn. It's not that. So, and then I've seen the splitting of personalities. A lot of times people don't see it. They don't see it on themselves. All of us at one point had more than one personality. Think about junior high. You wake up one day and you think you're this person, and the next day you're like just mean, and the next day after that you're like, I don't care about this stuff anymore. I mean, you're up, you're down, because you're literally trying to find, where am I in my circle? I don't even know. I'm developing. Am I a little kid anymore? No, I'm not a little kid, but I kind of miss some of that. And I'm not a high schooler, but I'm going to pretend I am. That's pretty conflicting, and you'll see personalities where kids will turn 12, 13, and you're just like, just don't know what to do with that, just back away, until something takes place, right? So that's that confusing time, and it can look like almost a split personality. But in that time, if that's not handled right, and they don't begin to find themselves in a healthy way and really learn how to express themselves and taking responsibility and having good boundaries and understanding, I mean, that's where we learn this stuff big time. There's a chemical that you're missing in your brain until you're 13 years old. And that chemical is the part that when it turns on, all of a sudden it's your body goes, it's time, download this puppy, and you download it. And that's where that part of junior high girls or whatever, same thing with guys, are like, I guess I'm in control now. I don't have to listen to my parents anymore. Because when that chemical kicks in, it literally is begging to take control, but it can only take control with the information it has, because you can't pretend you have information you don't actually have. Right? So what if you start using drugs during that time? And you stay consistently using, whenever we started using, what happens? We stop growing. So then we're in this spot where we're moving along. We're not growing. We never settled who we are. And now we're 30 years old, and we're like, yeah, I probably should stop using. Lost a few things. I got a few wrinkles. This is not good. My liver is screaming at me. There's all these different things. And you remove the drug, you remove the alcohol, you remove the porn, which acts like a drug in the body. And suddenly here you are, and you left off in junior high. I don't know how to take responsibility. I'm not sure about empathy. I don't know what boundaries are. What is a boundary? I don't even know. But I'm this old, so I better pretend I know. Right? And so we build relationships around pretending. And that's a lot of pressure. So you split off to be like, okay, I'm sober, but I got to project something here. Because people are going to find out I actually don't have these skills. It's hard. It's hard. If you were in an abusive relationship and somebody was dominating you and hurting you and those types of things, you'll actually stop emotionally growing. And when that happens, and, all of a sudden you're like, I broke up with that person. I'm 28 now. I've been with them since I was 17, and there was all this trauma bonding and stuff. All right, I'm free. I'm going to do something. What are you going to do? I don't know. Where are you going to get this information? I don't know. I'll pretend I have this information. And many times we'll go find the same kind of relationship, or it might not be that same kind of relationship, and our brain says, well, then I'll turn it into it because that's what I'm comfortable with. So I'll start the fights, and I'll do these different things, and this time it'll be me love bombing and gaslighting, and then it'll feel familiar to me, and I'll actually feel safe. See how it happens? So, it's true. So there's something about the baiting, and I think I asked you this last week. As a fish, right? God sends people out to make, fishers of men. As a fish, though, that's where you begin to take in the gospel. That's totally different than if I'm narcissistic and I'm going to bait you out, because I have an alternative agenda. I want your circle. I want a bunch of you, because I feed off of other people's circles. That's what narcissism does. I'm going to take the best of what you have. And then when you're all crying, then I know I am superior, because there was not a thing you could do about it. That's where that superior feeling comes from. What are you going to do? I just took your circle. I just took your son's circle. I just messed with this person's destiny. What you gonna do about that? And it leaves the whole family just going writhing, kind of like, well, there's got to be something we can, maybe if we just talk to them. How many of you found that to work with narcissism? I don't care what you think of to say, it goes on. Now they baited you into another debate, and you're always stuck into a debate. I was with someone who learned a skill, and that skill was their ex was narcissistic. And that person would just call out of the blue and like, thank you so much for being a support for our son and blah, 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 right? And they were like, okay, finally, this is good behavior, so all right, good. Maybe the person's changing and I won't be harassed so much. And then an hour later, I'm sitting there, same person calls, and he's just like gaslighting the crud out of her. You did this, and you blah, 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 and making these big X-Acto knife statements. And I was really impressed with her. She had taken a class on refuting narcissistic behavior, which we'll have to talk about. And so he was just accusing. He's like, you never and you always and every single time, and that's just the kind of mom you are. You just mess up everything. Just big statements like that. And she was like, okay, is that what you had to say? All right, thank you. She just hung up the phone. The phone blows up. The texts are coming in. There's all the kind of stuff. And she did it again. And the third time she did it, while she was on the phone with him, he broke. Because he could feel, he had the sense that, like, I can't get at her circle. Like, she's not I can't find a weak spot. She's just confident. She kept her voice like this. I'm not giving you nothing. Yeah, then the poor me's come on, and all of a sudden he's just like, it's just that no one understands me. I just am going through so much. And she used to just go, okay, well, I'll help you, and then come and rescue him. And then she would say phrases like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that's happening to you. You should seek help. Now, some narcissistic behavior, in order to take control, will threaten suicidal ideation or attempt something or whatever. And a lot of times, what do? We got to come rescue them. We have to, oh my goodness. No, you call the police and do a wellness check. And everything after that is on them. Between the authorities, it's on them. But the training says they've been in our circle so long, stealing everything from us. We're so intimidated by it. I don't know. We can't just leave them. I'm going to have to, they're a part of me. Right? And then we'll treat them like they're little kids. We're the mommy or the daddy, rather than you're a grown woman. Figure it out. Figure it out, right? So, I'm going to open it up for any questions that you might have right now. Just remember superiority, entitlement. These are just some characteristics, but in psychiatric realms, these are the top 8 characteristics. The need for attention, the need for control with gaslighting, love bombing, flying monkeys, a complete lack of boundaries, and then never take responsibility, and lack the empathy that it takes. You feel for someone else. And then the splitting that takes place that is like borderline personality disorder or bipolar. They can cause you to become what they're suffering. Scary, huh? Any questions? I just want to make sure. Yeah, Jake.
Is this recorded right?
It is.
How do I get it? Because not as like a, hey, you do this.
You start sending all the people, you and you.
I can think of a couple, but I'm not using with them. But it's just really interesting stuff. And
Yeah.
Like I said last week, I've been on both sides at times
Yeah.
in my life, and I've become this trying to defend this.
Yeah.
At times also. But
That's a really good point, that you can actually defend yourself and then give in and be like, fine, then I'll just be like you. I'll turn that on you. I'll gaslight you, and I'll love bomb you, and I'll get some flying monkeys, right? Yep.
it's really good information. So I would like to share it.
Yeah. So this will be on the TBO site. It'll also be on Word of Life sites, which is wordoflifemn.org, and you go to core programs. Usually takes us 2 days to post it, but you can get it off of YouTube pretty much right away. Yep. Or just Bridge Outreach. Yeah. Bridgeoutreach.org or wordoflifemn.org. And so it'll be just called something like Understanding Narcissism. And this is Hope Dealers. Sometimes they'll put it under that. So how does this give us hope? You can leave going. Well, hope comes from knowledge many times and getting understanding, and then wisdom comes and sits and goes, I got some choices I have to make. I've either been acting narcissistic or I'm allowing it to happen to me. Remember, the word enable means, here, let me help you able to abuse me. You need some help abusing me? Here, I'll make you able to do that, right? So that's what the word enable means, yes. Did you raise your hand? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. What would you call it if somebody was love bombing you, but would like buy jewelry for you knowing that you couldn't wear it because you were allergic to it, but they wanted to make you feel good, so they buy you jewelry?
Sometimes, and I think I know what you're talking about. Sometimes people will give you things to change a subject and to deflect. Maybe they're going through something, they're feeling weak that day or whatever, it isn't about you. It's like, I have to change the subject. You might see my weakness. You might see my flaw or whatever. Here, look at this. I bought you this. And then you're supposed to go, oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. Okay, I'm safe. I'm safe at home. I'm safe here. I'm safe doing this, right? But it's not a true gifting. It's a way. It's kind of like people going, I just love this ministry, and I'm going to give $3,000, and it's like, I'm sure you will. That's what goes through me. I'm like, it's a grandiose, over-the-top statement. And sometimes people who have suffered bipolar and haven't had the counseling to know how to navigate that will go high with grandiose statements. And they'll love you, bond you with you, or their trauma bond with you through a love bombing, way up high here like this. Like, let me drop this on you. And you're just like, oh, I didn't ask for, well, okay, all right, I guess I got to say thank you. Can't wear jewelry, and I can't do this, and, but, so many times I'll receive whatever they give. I just don't bait into the rest of the story. I start watching, and I'm like, because when someone just felt led to give you something that is like, this is truly from my heart. I've thought this through, and and then the grandiose, because the conversation about it is like, look, I'm being superior. You need to be impressed, and you need to step back from away from here, because I'm feeling unsafe right now. Did you have something?
Referring to something like the jewelry thing, is that potentially some way a narcissist they can't control you. You have good boundaries. They see you as a threat to their control of other people. So they do that to kind of tear you down or whittle you down.
Yes.
So the person receiving the jewelry has good boundaries, but that makes you feel kind of like in question and doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought they knew me, and it's just to throw you off kilter so you're less effective at protecting other people around you.
Very good answer. And the thing is, it puts us in a spot where we have to ask the question, can I say to that person, I actually don't wear jewelry. I have an allergic thing. I'm so thankful you thought of maybe. Please give that to somebody else.
But yeah, most times we don't really feel obligated
Yes.
to receive the gift.
Yes.
Because if we don't, we're just rude.
Yep. Yep. Or they'll feel like you're rude because they're trying to navigate something and you won't let them do it. Right? Right. Right. So I forgot about that. I had no idea. Well, you should have told me. Yes.
So is there a pretty clear line between like rad and narcissistic behavior, kind of on that?
Give me your idea of what you think rad is.
Somebody who, like, when you're a parent, foster
Mm-hmm.
parent or otherwise, you're trying to attach to them and they just go whack.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll go and do all of the things that you're talking about right now, plus more.
Yep.
Also become very violent and or throwing things, yelling.
Yeah. So it's almost the same thing. I think if you spec scan their brain is very much wired the same. And one person can come out of it through training, just watching somebody be narcissistic. This is how you get your own way. This is how I get attention, whatever. A lot of kids, though, have been through so much trauma, they're trying to self regulate and they can't. So they'll love bomb you. Then the next minute, you're my mom. I love you so much. You've always been there for me. And the next thing, stab you in the back. And you're just like, who are you? Reactive attachment disorder is what she's talking about. They'll react to the situation and they'll either really want to just be a leech to you almost because they're going to love you so much, or they have to push you away. You have to be evil. You have to be whatever so I can push you away. Yes.
You think, because like, my daughter's mother had like a horrific childhood. Like, the people who were supposed to care for her obviously hurt her bad. Her mom broke her arm. She was abandoned.
Wow.
Left in Minnesota. Her mom moved away on her for like 6 months and left her here when she was 15. Didn't know anybody, stuff like that. But it was like, um, what I've seen, like she has diagnosable PPD, but also it's like, I love you, I love you, I love you. You treat me right, but then 20 minutes later, half hour later, it's like, when's the other shoe gonna drop? I was just fooled. I better
Yeah.
run away from you or push you away before you get close enough to hurt me. But then you're like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here. And like, it could be in the middle of throwing your stuff out, and you get in the car to leave, and they'll beg you to come.
Don't go. Yeah. And that's totally a reenactment of trauma bonding. I don't know how to bond to you, but I know trauma. And so I'm going to act out that trauma now, hoping that when I run that same scenario, I'll get a different result. You're going to get the same result.
Hey, Pastor, I experienced, it's something that when I come here, what I'm dealing with, you're discussing.
Yeah,
So thank you so much.
you're welcome.
I experienced that last night in a group of, with a group of women, and it was like, they all did like this to me, the crucifix. And I went home, and it bothered me so bad that I think when I started going to sleep, it was morning. And I got up and down and prayed and talked to God about it. But then I addressed them about it.
Rock on.
Felt that I needed to give that back to them.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I feel. I felt violated. I felt like you need to explain to me what was that all about. Why did you guys feel the need to do that? And
Can I ask what they said?
I'm waiting for a response.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's like they wouldn't talk to me in person, so because we talked on the chat, text message and stuff, it was long, but I got out what I wanted to say, and that was with me all through the night. And coming here, I understand what I dealt with, what I experienced last night. And if they don't respond to me, or I don't get a response from that, how do I not deal with that again? How do I avoid that? Those particular people?
If they don't respond to you and you've attempted, that automatically says the group is not safe. Because if they're going to do that to you, they will do it to each other or someone else. And that would be that thing of like, well, let's address this lack of safety.
The closest ones to me when I moved up here from
Yeah,
Superior, it was like, oh, let's
yeah.
go to the movies, let's have breakfast, let's movies, all that. And these were the three people that I really felt it was like
In my circle. Yeah,
I left them in my circle. But
yeah.
last night it just came down. It just came down. And I'm just wondering, if I don't hear back from them about this, do I just LIG let it go?
What do you guys think? Should she let it go when someone has, in a sense, attacked who you are or shunned that or pushed you back?
To my daughter, and she's like a new Christian, and they're older Christians
Yeah,
with that narcissism. Where what about this? How they pull you in and monkey thing you.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you just feel like, oh, I need to just be quiet.
Sometimes people will make a gesture like that. Have you ever been in a class where somebody wants to take control and they'd make a gesture like that and all the monkeys go, whoa, when they're doing that? And then how do you defend yourself? Because now the class just chimed in on it. The key part,
About it.
yeah,
She's discussing her daughter and her daughter's faith in God. Why are we, coming at her daughter like, ooh, we don't do that when we don't.
wow, yeah.
I said, what is that gesture?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Are we not judging another person's faith or religion or
Yeah.
church? We're judging people when we shouldn't judge people. And I'm the type of person that's empathetic about that. And I was very, I told her I was very touched by that. That really affected me because I'm empathetic about
That was so mature of you to say, to call a spade, but you did it in a very loving way.
it. I really did. And I want to know how do if I don't get a response and they see me and they avoid me, which I'm sure they won't talk to me anymore.
Yeah.
Like they'll avoid me for a while, but then maybe I'm the type of person that'll go back and say, if I offended you, I am so sorry, but I needed to address that.
Yeah, and then see what they say from that. That's all mature behavior. And sometimes when they do an immature thing, they're not going to know how to respond to a mature behavior. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that happened to you.
That's what I call church hurt.
That is church hurt right there. Did you have something?
You asked what brother thought. I was just wondering, are these people that you know or your daughter knows?
The people that I know that I won't allow my daughter to be introduced to. I won't. They drew my son and my grandchildren in, and I feel that I need to be friends with them because they got my family involved in it. They pulled my family into what that narcissism is, and not my son's that narcissist told me, but I've been avoiding him anyway.
Wow.
He has to get it together, but my daughter's on her way from Superior to come down here and see if this is the life that she wants in this community, but it's not what I want to introduce.
That's not what you want to expose her to. Yeah.
She's coming out of a relationship that isn't a lot of that, and she's breaking free now and coming here to stay with my son and I until she can get herself stable. But I don't want to introduce her to that.
Sure.
That's been painful to me and her.
Yeah, they made it unsafe. That's what they did. Whether they thought it was a joke or whatever, they need to hear from you. You actually made that meeting unsafe to me. So what can we do to fix that? Yeah. Right. Then you pretty much like, well, why would you go back to something that's unsafe? Yeah. 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 Right. Right. Mary, you had something?
Yeah, you may have addressed this when I wasn't in the room, but in your opinion, what creates narcissistic people? Like, what are they upbringing? Because as we parent and grandparent, like, how do we do this so that we don't create that in children? So what do you think causes it? Is it coddling them? Is it overindulging them?
It can be various different things. So you can coddle a child and everything's all about them and their every little need. Oh, you got to help Jimmy and, that kind of stuff. And then their expectation is that should happen. But more times over, even so, there can be inappropriate discipline that comes across like gaslighting. Like, how many times do I got to tell, what is wrong with you? You come up in here and your mother and I have blah, 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 it's that type of thing. And then turn around later and love bomb them. And they start watching that system. Like, what about this? The more even keel we can be, the better it does. So they get to a certain age and they're like, I'm going to use that same system. You mess with me, I'll rip your head off. But other than that, I'm popular. I'm wonderful. I'm whatever. And then also, if they're not taught how to own their own space, right? And in learning how to own my own space, I don't have to have your space to survive. It's me and Jesus, right? You teach them about God, And this is who I am, and this is why I'm here. It's wonderful to come alongside and have friends and those kinds of things, but I don't have to have that to survive. Some families will be like, I have to be superior, and they show their kids that, like, you're going to be alone. Your circle's going to be messed up. If you don't, you got to be the star. You got to get faster, be prettier, be whatever. And there's this driving thing that goes shame, and then they go pride. See, look what I've accomplished. Look where I've got. There's so many different things that can cause it that it really is a setup. Letting a child get away with everything, yeah, they can get very narcissistic over that. But there's other children that I literally was in teaching a youth conference, and one young lady came up to me. She just was crying. I just laid hands on her, and she just went down to the floor. So I got down on the floor with her, and she's just on her knees crying. And here's what she said. My parents don't love me. And I'm thinking, okay, here comes the story. This is going to be intense. And she said, they let me do whatever I want. I can come home whenever. They don't question me. They don't care. It's like I don't exist. Right? So very broken that way. The next person can have that same thing, and they're like, that's right. You don't tell me what to do. So, I am actually in charge here. My parents don't question me because they know I'm smart and I can handle myself, or whatever it is. That makes sense? So it really isn't, you can't really grab it and go, and there it is. That's the thing we need to avoid. So many different things. So many faces to sin. Did you have something, Terry? All right. Well, hopefully, God bless you, man. Hopefully this is somewhat of a help. We'll come back and we'll visit it. The last Wednesday of this month is the fentanyl conference, different thing over at Bram, and so we will be there representing Mission 61, so there'll be no hope dealers here. You sure can come up there for pizza and stuff. They're just going to have a panel discussing what's going on with fentanyl and trying to get young people in to be able to see that, and that's at the Bram Event Center around 5:30 is when I think the food is served, and then after that is the information. Okay? God bless you all.